Rex on the beat.
How's it going, everybody? You're at the Ferris for Fitness YouTube channel, and today I will be discussing omega-3 fatty acids, or as most people know them as fish oil. So to get right into it, what are omega-3 fatty acids? Omega-3 fatty acids are one of the essential nutrients needed by your body. There are 8 essential amino acids and 2 essential fatty acids. The 2 essential fatty acids, which will be talked about in this video, are omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids. Carbohydrates are not essential. I'll probably end up doing a video on that. I won't get into too much detail, but again, the 8 essential amino acids, 2 essential fatty acids, and then the carbohydrates are not essential. And then again, why take a omega-3 supplement or meet your adequate needs of omega-3s? There's been especially recently, there's a big kind of dramatic difference in our ratio of omega-3s to omega-6 ratio. So typically you're not going to find anyone that's deficient in omega-6 fatty acids, even though it's essential. It's pretty much found in almost any fat that we eat that's not going to be saturated fat. So people typically don't lack in their fat intake. So they typically don't lack in their omega-6 intake. And then again, especially here in America, fish isn't highly consumed, especially for people who aren't kind of in the coast area. So that could even be a bigger problem for you. Just some information here from Alan Aragon in an article I read that he said in a study he found that there was 25, the ratio of the typical person was a 25 omega-6 to 1 omega-3. So it's a pretty big discrepancy there. And then he said the typical ratio they want them to be around is 4 to 1. So again, omega-6, omega-3, 4 to 1 or less. So it's a pretty big discrepancy there. And the discrepancy between omega-3 and omega-6s have been kind of a precursor to a whole bunch of chronic diseases. So that's a big selling point of why to meet your omega-3 needs, just to be adequate, just to be optimal, not even thinking about any of the benefits getting from it. So here I'll go into the benefits, just try to make this as quick as I can because there are a lot of them. First, just go over kind of the strong, a lot of evidence, a lot of research backing these claims, and then secondary, I'll go into some of the things that, at least that I've seen, that are kind of just coming up, promising research, I would say, or they need some more research to be kind of just like hard evidence. So to get into the strong evidence, the strong benefits of omega-3s, lowering blood pressure, improving triglyceride levels, helping with secondary cardiovascular disease prevention. Secondary cardiovascular disease would just be referring to someone has already had a heart attack and then they meet their adequate omega-3 needs, and it's going to help prevent that second heart attack from happening. And then the biggest one, at least for people who I think follow my channel off YouTube, would be decreased inflammation. So I know a lot of my followers are people who exercise, people concerned with how it's going to help them in that kind of a stance. So any kind of joint pain that you may be having, a lot of people take glucosamine conjoined for glute pain. Omega-3 can also be kind of a good synergistic effect with that. So anytime maybe if you have knee pain when you're running or when you're squatting, omega-3s could help with that, or elbow pain when you're pressing, anything like that. It's going to help with inflammation as far as your performance in the gym or however you work out. And also inflammation has been linked to a whole bunch of other host of chronic diseases. So those are kind of like the strong benefits that I've listed. Definitely proven over and over again in tons of research that omega-3s help with all those factors there. And here are kind of some promising research. Some of these might even be full out proven, so don't think that these things are just kind of like maybes. They might be fully proven. Just some of the research that I've found, this is kind of promising research, I would say. So again, rheumatoid arthritis. So again, that's just kind of severe inflammation. Primary cardiovascular disease, so preventing the first heart attack from happening, pretty much just overall general good cardiovascular health, improving mood, bone health. I've seen a lot of this stuff recently, especially in the news. Children with ADD, children with ADHD being prescribed omega-3s to help them. Again, with some of these secondary or promising research, the dosaging might be a lot different than what I'm going to discuss later in the video. So if you're more interested in some of the promising research, I would recommend doing your own research as far as, you know, what the dosages have been as far as those benefits. But the dosages I'll speak of later will definitely fit with the strong evidence that's been supported. So again, some of the things I just talked about: improving mood, bone health, ADHD and ADHD in children, cancer prevention, mental health, typically found, the research that I've seen with Alzheimer's patients, blood clotting, just helping make sure that you're not bleeding out, excess bleeding. So those are just kind of some of the promising things that I found, and then again, kind of the hardcore, scientific, proven over and over again, strong things. I'll mention those again: lower blood pressure, triglyceride levels. Sorry, I can't talk tonight or this morning. Secondary cardiovascular disease prevention, and probably the number one thing, like I said, for people who follow my channel, is the decrease in inflammation. So just to kind of wrap it up now, talk about, you know, body comp. Are there body comp benefits? I get a lot of this question. I got a lot of these questions from people talking about, does fish oil help me kind of burn more fat? I've seen a lot of people kind of think that, and even supplement companies will probably try to perpetrate that. No research that I've seen has had any, you know, dramatic effect on omega-3s helping with fat loss or muscle gain or anything like that. If you're, especially for people who are trying to lose weight, you need to focus on being in a calorie deficit. Make sure you count your macronutrients, count your calories, do your exercise, and just consistently be in a calorie deficit, and you'll lose weight. So don't make it too complicated. And I wouldn't recommend this product as far as a person who's trying to simply use it for a body composition goal. Again, I just gave a host of reasons of why you should take it. There's a ton of research on it. It's probably, I give it with the big four that I always tell people are fish oil, creatine monohydrate, beta-alanine, and caffeine. And the other supplement that I take is a multivitamin, just as far as insurance. But those big four just have piles and piles of research on them as far as their benefits. So I call those the big four. So again, but this isn't really going to be a body comp benefit, or you're not going to see, you know, dramatic results in the gym with your physique. It's just kind of an overall healthy supplement that you should take, or healthy nutrient that you should have in your diet. So getting to the dosages and the sources of omega-3 fatty acids, you should get around 3 grams total. So I'll talk about that right now. I believe the standard concentration is 180 milligrams EPA and 120 milligrams of DHA, if you can see that on the bottle there. I haven't seen any other fish oil concentration. So one of the capsules in there is going to be a gram, and then again 300 milligrams of that gram is going to be the actual concentration. So if you do some simple math, you can find out that in one pill you're going to have 300 milligrams of your concentration, and your goal is to get 3 grams, so you're going to need to take around 10 capsules a day. So that's the kind of the adequate amount you're going to need to have. This research is pretty much coming off Allen, Aragon, Lyle McDonald. That's their recommendation. But again, this is a big but. You don't have to get this strictly from an omega-3 supplement. Depending on where you live, depending on your situation, you know, I live in Kansas where there's not a great abundance amount of fish as far as quality and price and things like that. So maybe if you live in a coast or an area where you can have, you know, good fish sources for a good price and good quality and all of that, then some other ways that you can meet your omega-3 needs. The kind of general recommendation that we've all kind of heard is that 2 servings of fish a week. That's kind of been out there for a while. I believe that's been put out there because the omega-3 content typically found in fish. And then again, always talk about Alan Aragon, but in his article he recommended 6 to 8 ounces of fatty fish. So salmon would be an example of that. 4 times a week would pretty much eliminate your need for the fish oil supplement. But then again, you know, we all don't have that access to quality fish and price, and just making sure that it doesn't have a lot of mercury and things like that. So it's also an alternative if you don't want to take the capsules. And then some other sources of omega-3s are sardines, flax seeds, walnuts, salmon, any fatty fish for that matter. But again, depending on your location, depending on your taste in food, some people just don't like fish. The fish oil supplement, the omega-3 supplement, could be right for you, or strictly getting it from food could be right for you, or even kind of a mix of the both. But again, the 3 grams total, which is going to be about 10 capsules, assuming that your fish oil, your omega-3 supplement, is 180 milligrams of EPA and 120 milligrams of DHA. Then to kind of wrap it up, I'll talk about just a little bit of the dangers and the concerns coming with fish oil. The number one thing is that you don't want to just think that more is better and pop like 10, 15, or 15, 20, 30 of these things a day. Number one, because it's been kind of showed to, with higher dosages, to promote gut bleeding, so you definitely don't want to do that. Then, like I said before, you might have to increase the dosages for some of those promising, some of the more promising things like mood and ADHD and things like that. But consult a physician or someone that has a greater understanding of that as far as your dosage for that. Don't just start taking 15 pills to try to help your depression. Go see someone that's a doctor or someone like that who has a better understanding of that disease or that disorder. And then again, this is a big one, it does contain calories. So it's just like any other fat. So this is 1 gram. One of these pills, you'll see 1,000 milligrams. One of these capsules is 1 gram. So it does contain 9 calories per capsule. So if you're taking, like I recommend or other people recommend, 10 of these capsules a day, that's going to be 90 extra calories into your diet. Granted, it's a useful 90 calories, list all those benefits, but you should, assuming that you're counting your macronutrients, counting your calories like you should be if you really want to see, optimal physique and also optimal health, you need to take that into consideration. So people typically don't count this. They could see 90 calories adding up day after day after day after day. It's a pretty big difference if you're trying to lose some weight, especially between maybe like 40 grams of fat, 49 grams of fat, especially drawn up for weeks and months after time. So make sure you're counting that in your overall calorie intake. I wanted to make a note of that. Then again, lastly, let's talk about the quality. Again, with fish, there's always kind of a concern about mercury in the fish and things like that. I recently read a quick article stating that they studied 500 different types, different brands of fish oil capsules, and none of them contained any mercury or any other toxins that would be worth concern. So I would assume that you'd pretty much be safe with any supplement. Really quick, anything that was GMP certified. That's why I'm a fan of Now Foods, Optimal Nutrition. GMP certified just means that their operations, that they're making their supplements are sanitary and things like that. This also has a third-party tested purity thing on there. Not sure how legit that is, but again, you shouldn't really be worried about it. With that study that I found, that they test over 500 different brands, and there were no really harsh things in the capsules that would be worth concern. So there's really no shame in just going to Walmart and getting the cheap nature-made fish oil. You should be okay with that. So that's the video, guys. It's a pretty in-depth video with fish oil. Just talking about the benefits and the dosages, things like that. But if you're not currently taking fish oil, I would recommend, or if you're not typically hitting your omega-3 content, I recommend you begin doing that. If you are, keep doing it. And then again, if some people who maybe watched this video and it was kind of vague to them, hopefully the dosages that I laid out for you would be helpful. So that's the video, guys. I'll have more good stuff coming.